Welcome to Behave Yourself, the podcast that aims to bring the science of human behavior and how you can apply it to your own life and become the happiest, healthiest, and most successful version of you.
We're two behaviour analysts with backgrounds in personal training and nutrition who've struggled in the past with confidence, weight loss, breaking promises to ourselves, and constantly trying the quick fixes.
We bring the science and show you how to apply it confidently and consistently towards your own goals and how to actually create a lifestyle change.
Behaviour analysis is the science of human behaviour, and we all engage in behaviours that either move us towards the direction of our goals or hold us back from living the life we desire.
I'm one of your hosts, Emily McRae.
And I'm your other host, Jo Wesley. Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm well. How are you?
Are you well?
I am. I am now. We've been chatting for an hour and a half, so now I'm good.
Cool.
Like I said in the last one.
How have you been behaving yourself?
I have been behaving myself quite well by taking my vitamins consistently for 2 weeks, which is something that I was not doing consistently for several months. So playing around with some vitamins and supplements and talking about nutrition is really kind of a tie into it, but just certain supplements that I don't necessarily get from my daily intake and seeing how that affects my energy levels. So, but can't have any valuable data if I don't do it consistently. So working on that.
Nice.
How have you been behaving yourself?
I mentioned on the last episode that Christmas has just been cancelled. So I have been revisiting what my values and goals are for Christmas. So Jim and I have decided to come up with we're going to start new traditions this year because we're not tied to anybody else. So yeah, reassessing my values and goals for Christmas. I'm feeling pretty positive about it.
That's wonderful.
But sorry, Mum and Dad, I will miss you. Our biggest listeners.
I know they are. They are.
Okay, so today, for the last couple of episodes, we've been going through fat loss, what it is, how to do it, what is your kind of energy balance, and how to create a calorie deficit in lots of different ways. And today we wanted to go more into deep health because being in a calorie deficit or losing fat isn't really the be all and end all. A behavior analyst would say, well, a dead man can do it. A dead man loses weight and loses fat really well. So how do we do it well? And I mentioned deep health before and going into what that is. So deep health, and this comes from the certification that I did with Precision Nutrition. They've come up with this six ideas of what constitutes deep health. And they go into it being mental, so being alert and focused and competent and thoughtful, being able to problem solve well. Environmental, so knowing your everyday surroundings and they support your health and well-being. Emotional, so experiencing your full range of emotions and expressing them appropriately. It being physical, so feeling good, feeling vibrant and energized and thriving and performing well. It's relational, so feeling connected and authentic with others, feeling supported and like you belong, and existential, so feeling like you've got a sense of meaning and purpose in life. And so is this to do with fat loss? No, but if you want to do fat loss and maintain your weight well, I do think that all of these things have to come into it at some point. As I said on the last episode, I could eat 2 chocolate bars a day and successfully lose fat, but would I feel good? No. Would I have energy? No. Would I be able to experience my full range of emotions without losing my, you know what, daily? No. Would my environment support that? Absolutely not. All of these kind of deep health elements wouldn't work together with that. Mm-hmm. And so if you're looking at fat loss from in quote unquote healthy way, you do have to look at the deep health elements of it as well. So we're going to go into some of these elements today. I guess it's probably starting off by saying that there's no one best diet. I think every personal trainer and nutritionist is asked this at some point of like, well, what do you eat? I'll just eat what you eat because you look fine to me. I think it's fair to say that you and I eat quite differently, Emily.
We do.
You eat healthily, I eat healthily, but you guys are vegetarian. Jim and I are certainly not vegetarian. Oh, I mean, you eat a bit of fish sometimes, right?
Yes. So technically pescatarian, but
and we eat really differently. But there's no best diet. And what is a best diet for anyone might take into account maybe their background, their race, their religion, traditions, maybe their income or any allergies that they have.
Training,
Yeah.
sport, the sport that they do.
Their goals.
Yeah. Their goals, their lifestyle, their socioeconomic status, potentially of access to food.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I guess time of year as well. What I eat in the summer looks very different to what I eat in the winter.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I guess there are probably a few main variables that should stay the same across what is a best diet for weight loss, or any kind of diet really. And that would be that it controls energy balance. You're not going from one extreme to the other. It's helping you look and feel and perform your best. It's sustainable. I could eat 2 chocolate bars a day for a couple of days and then I'd tap out because I'd be feeling awful. So it has to be something you can adhere to for a long time. It has to be flexible. So we've all, well, I don't know if you have, we've all met I think I've met the people that come to your family dinner with a Tupperware of chicken, broccoli and rice. That's not flexible. Like, you need to be able to plan in the family dinners and the meals out and whatnot.
Yeah.
It should be fear-free and it should be pain-free. Sometimes clients come to me and it's almost like they're scared of food.
Yes.
There are so many, messages in society telling us this or that or the other. I mean, let's play a game now. Like, how many food fear messages have you read in the newspapers recently?
I don't read the newspapers.
But like, you've heard them, right? So like, red meat will kill you.
Oh, all these like weird.
Right. Don't eat too much fish because it's got mercury in it.
Yeah. It's all like eat low fat, don't eat low fat yogurt. Eat low carb, don't eat low carb. It's going to hurt you. Spinach is bad for you. Spinach is good for you. Kale is good for you now. It's these back and forths that we have always seen. And it's just based on like the newest trend versus science.
So any diet should be definitely fear-free. You should know that you can eat anything and no food is bad.
It's like I tell my clients, you can eat whatever you want. That a few of them are gluten intolerant. And so then I tell them, I would suggest staying away from gluten-filled foods because it's going to make you not feel great in a few hours. But other than that, go ahead. Eat the ice cream if you want the ice cream. It's going to fit in. It's fine. It's gluten-free.
Sometimes, not always.
True.
And then my 2 favorites were that diets in general should not be making an individual or a group huge amounts of money. If someone is trying to sell a weight loss plan to you, but you can see that they are earning millions, billions, or even trillions from it, hello Weight Watchers, hello Slimming World, then they've got an agenda there. And that's not a diet per se, that's just a money-making scheme. And also, diet should be based on data and outcomes. So why you're picking the diet that you're picking, for what reasons, you should base that decision on what outcomes it's giving you. Is it making you feel good? Is it helping you reach your goals? If so, great. If it's not, change it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is the restriction piece of not feeling fearful or restrictive of food. Like, you can eat foods that you enjoy and still be in a calorie deficit and still be successful in your, I don't want to say weight loss journey, but in your daily life of eating and making that a consistent, sustainable action that you just do daily. And we kind of talked about this of, it's just, it is what you do. And it's not, well, I'm doing it for the next month because it's Whole30 January. Is that sustainable across the whole year, or are you just doing it because it's the trend?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess this would come into kind of a little bit the emotional, a little bit the environmental, like how are your emotions around food and can you fit your diet within the environment? Personally, when I kind of think about this, I prefer to be in a very defined fat loss phase when I need to lose a few pounds. And then the rest of my time, I don't track my food. I eat what I want within reason and reasonable portions. But when I'm in a fat loss phase, I might not eat my favorite foods. I have to put a blanket no on peanut butter. But I also know that I'm only going to be in a fat loss phase for X number of weeks. I was going to say weeks or months. I'm very rarely in a fat loss phase for months, more like weeks, because then I know I can eat those things at a later time. And like my whole life, or anyone's whole life, doesn't need or shouldn't be on a quote unquote diet, because that's miserable. Get in, lose the weight, get out again, and then go on about your sweet daily life, eating what you want to eat within reason. And that's not suggesting that you yo-yo where you lose weight, go back to eating all the crap and put on weight. But like, learn how to eat well, lose a few pounds when you want to, and then just go back to eating at maintenance and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I love it.
Okay.
That's exactly what I would say.
So what more? How to do this? How to start off doing it? I guess any of those particular deep health areas you want to go into first?
I think and because we're behavioralists and we look at this so much, the environment is a really big component of it. And we've talked about modeling in the past too, like who is surrounding you, what is surrounding you that is going to impact your ability to eat in the way that you want to eat and lose weight and hit the goals that you have set for yourself. So looking at how is your environment set up? I know for me, there's times where like, and you've talked about this too, of having foods in the house and not keeping them in the house because they're going to impact you eating, or the emotional side of it's going to come into play of, I used to not keep Cheez-Its in the house. I still have to send you a box of those, but not keeping Cheez-Its in the house because you're just going to eat them all, or keeping a sleeve of cookies in the house is just not going to be beneficial. Maybe that is what you need to do to set up your environment in the beginning, but then like Joe, learning to incorporate them and have them in the house, but also learning how to enjoy them and incorporate them into your daily eating habits, or not eating them daily, but incorporating that into your life eating habits, but still maintaining that success of hitting the goals and the calories that you have set for yourself.
Yeah, good point. And I guess that kind of then ties into the emotional as well. Like Emily said before, you can eat cookies when you're in a calorie deficit, or you're trying to be in a calorie deficit. You just can't eat 59 of them. You can eat 1 or 2. But if you know that you have no control around this particular food, then maybe for a while you can't keep it in the house. It's just that I'm not willing to have those very strict food rules for myself. I would rather tackle that head on and work out a way to be able to eat these foods slowly and mindfully. So the story that Emily's referring to is that I do keep all these foods in the house now, but recently I made a new thing of maple cinnamon roasted pecan nuts, and they are incredible. And I ate about 300 grams of them all at once, and then barely even tasted them, and then kind of looked back on myself like, what? I haven't binge eaten like that for years. Like, what was happening there? And it's just because they are super delicious, super high calorie, high fat, sugary, and salty. Like, that's the trifecta of deliciousness. Of course, my body wanted more and more and more, but now I have made a whole bunch more, and I'm eating them daily, but I'm eating 5 or 6 of them. So 5 or 6 individual nuts daily, and really enjoying them, and enjoying them much more than just inhaling them, or inhaling 300 grams worth within 5 minutes flat.
5 minutes what?
Flat. 5 minutes flat.
Oh, flat.
Yeah. So I guess then that could come down to working on, I use a few different things with clients. Have you heard of the hunger satiation scale?
I don't think so.
So it goes from 0 to 10, where 0 would be, I'm about to die starving, and people in our society do not get to that level of hunger, all the way up to 10 of, I'm going to be sick, I've eaten so much. And of course, really in our daily lives, we want to sit between kind of a 4 and a 7. And 5 would be, you're not even thinking about food. Food's not an issue right now. I'm not hungry, I'm not full, I just am. And so when you're eating, trying to eat to a point of not really above a 7, like you could eat more, but you also don't need to eat more and you're perfectly satiated. And if you stopped eating now, you wouldn't be hungry for a couple of hours. Some people call it like the 80% full rule. And sometimes that's not possible. Like on Christmas Day, I will eat to a 9. And I'm okay with that. I won't eat to a 10 because that would make me feel not very nice and quite sick. But I probably eat to a 9 because it's a special day. It's delicious food. I'm a little bit greedy sometimes. And there are foods that I'll want to eat extra of. I just don't do it every day. And then with that food scale, not having any emotions around it. So when I identify foods that can be emotional, whether that's because they are intensely delicious and I struggle to control myself around them, or maybe they have a history. So maybe it's that your mum's homemade Christmas cake that you have every year, or yours is donuts. Maybe that has an emotional tie for you, or the sweet that your grandfather always used to give you. Really working on that and what it means to you and being able to enjoy it in a different way rather than binge eating it. Maybe taking one item, one single thing of that, whether that is one slice of cake, and putting a timer on, and that piece of cake or that donut or those maple roasted nuts have to last you for 5 whole minutes. Now, 5 minutes is quite a long time when it comes to a single item of food.
Yes.
And maybe you can smell it, and maybe you can feel it. Maybe you can examine it like with a fork and look at all the different elements. Maybe you can hold a piece of it in your, like, you can tell I'm salivating as I'm talking about this. You can hold a piece of it in your mouth for a minute and really like explore the different areas of your tongue that it's hitting. You can chew it really slowly. You can take a few breaths between each bite. And obviously you wouldn't do that in every meal because you would never leave a meal. You would be going from breakfast to lunch to dinner. But with these items that you have huge emotions around, spending some time exploring them in their entirety and really enjoying them rather than just inhaling them and eating them within 30 seconds. And honestly, then probably not really even tasting them or enjoying them.
I did that once in a mindfulness kind of group that I did at one of my old jobs. We did it after work and it was really cool. We did it with Starburst. Do you guys have those over there? Yeah. So we did them with Starburst and like slowly unwrapped the wrapper. And then somebody went to go put it in their mouth and she was like, not yet. We're not even there. We're just like holding it and looking at it. But it's this immediate pop it in your mouth kind of not food, but candy that you eat. And so to actually take the time and slowly eat it is a really powerful tool to do.
Yeah. If you are having a whole meal, say, it could be that you're putting your cutlery down between each bite. It could be that you're having like a sociable meal. So you're talking to your people between each bite. It's not just food, get it in as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
I guess to go back to the environmental as well, like Emily said, knowing that your surroundings support your health and well-being. So a lot of the people that I work with are teachers or people that work in schools. School staff rooms are the worst. How are you work in a gym now? How are the gym staff rooms?
We have like 2 people in there at a time now, but it's not terrible. It used to be at the ends of the months because that was kind of close out for each month. We'd have sweets and treats and it was just kind of to support kind of the hard work that we had put in that month. But it was always cupcakes and donuts and candy and everything sweet. And in my ABA years at a center-based company, it was so many sweets, like all the time. I actually had one client, the dad would bring in donuts every single Friday.
Oh, no.
Loved it, but at the same time, challenging. And it was always sweets. It was never like, here's a fruit bowl. Like, why? Why can't we bring in a fruit bowl or a veggie platter? So I'm the person who would bring that in, but they're not setting up for success. And then that social piece component comes into play of, well, everyone else is taking some, so I should take some. And then it becomes this more. And I've worked with a client on this too, on how to manage that component because it's hard. You want to be a part of it, but you also know that you have goals that you've set and values that you have around that food and around eating healthier choices and options, but also being able to have just one cookie and that's okay to have just one cookie. And it's also okay to have 2.
Or it's okay to have none.
And none.
Like I always related to this idea of if I come and visit your house and buy you a thank you gift for having me, and I buy you this most awful, grotesque gnome, like a leprechaun, do you have to display that in pride of place in your house forevermore?
No.
No. So like people then also like I don't get to dictate what ornaments you have in your house. You also don't get to dictate what food I put in my body just because it's a social nicety. And so I think sometimes surrounding yourself with people, even if it's online, maybe through an accountability group or a support coach or behavioral nutrition coach, hey,
Hey.
having other people that saying like, oh God, anyone else struggling with the staff room today, or like anyone else feeling pressured into eating X, Y, and Z, just to have that. Of like this, we have so many messages around us saying this is what we should all be doing, but then having some other messages from people who with similar goals to you of, yeah, I'm not eating all those Cheez-Its just because they're in the staff room too.
Yeah. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
What other components of those 6 should we dive into before we have to go?
What else?
Wrap up on.
I guess like I'm always concerned as well. We talk about fat loss and weight loss, and my clients come to me wanting to lose weight, but also me checking that they have weight to lose. So with the emotional, I guess, and the mental side of it as well, no, like, are you having thoughts about food every second of every day? At that point, you're not the person that needs to be in a fat loss phase. Maybe some work around your relationship with food and thoughts around food and just mental health in general might be more appropriate for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've said that right.
Yeah, I think it's there's stages to being ready, and these kind of not prerequisite skills in a way, but these kind of you need to be ready to be in a fat loss phase. And so that kind of overthinking of what you're eating can lead to maybe more unhealthy habits and ways of losing weight and eating food. And so repairing that relationship first with food and what it does for you, and that it's fuel and it's not evil and it's not there to hurt you or make you feel in a certain way, but it's rather there to help fuel your body and give you energy. And that's what food is, versus it's this emotionally driven thing for many people. So repairing that first and then looking at the numbers and going into that if somebody is really hyper focused on all of the food that they're intaking every day.
Yeah, if you're feeling really anxious about your food intake, that's a warning sign that it's time to think elsewhere and get additional help. If you're in the UK, I don't know if you have similar in the US, we have a charity called Beat, which is a eating disorders charity, and they do amazing work. And it's not just anorexia, binge eating disorders, just general anxiety around food they cover. So they are definitely good people to get in touch with. Or if you're supporting someone who is having those kind of anxieties, they will help you out as well. I guess to move away from just the deep health, there are, for me, just a few important takeaways that I think we've mentioned before. So if you are trying to lose weight and be in a fat loss phase, protein is everything. So you could just lose fat and be a skinny mini. It's not fun. It's not cool. It's not going to lead to long-term health, and you're probably going to lose a bit of muscle. But if you make sure that you hit a certain protein target and eat enough protein, and like Emily has talked about before, do some weight training, then you will have kind of sustainable, healthy fat loss. Do you want to touch on protein?
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing coming from somebody who's like vegetarian, pescatarian, is people are always like, well, are you getting enough protein in? And it's like, okay, well, first of all, I don't know what your concern is about my protein intake, and I get it. People are like, well, you can't get protein from not eating meat, but that's false. But in terms of it, it's getting high quality levels of protein in, and typically about 25 to 30 grams of protein per serving every few hours. So that's in general. And it can come in different forms, and it's very variable for men versus women, and based on what your body type is. So people who are ectomorphs, or somebody who is similar to me and Joe and the way that we're built, sometimes need more calories than people who are endomorphs or mesomorphs. So there's different body types, like that pear-shaped. Joe's holding up her finger. She's going to.
I look similar to you because I work bloody hard at it. I am
Yes.
naturally a jelly baby. I'm just going to put that on the record. Naturally,
A what?
I'm a jelly baby.
A jelly baby?
I'm going to have to show you a picture of these sweets. They're sweets in the UK. We have like little jelly sweets in the shape of really chubby little babies. They're delightful, but I am not naturally one of those. I am naturally a jelly baby.
Okay. So see, perception, guys. So in terms of different body types or different athletes or lifestyles, you're going to need different levels of protein just based on you. So again, this is why we say it's a general concept, but it's always going to need to be individualized for you. And it's, again, you can eat more protein per serving, like meal serving, but it's going to be used in a different way in your muscles versus the muscles using that initial 25 to 30 or so grams of protein to synthesize those muscles, to repair them, to get them ready for working out, lifting weights, strength training, walking upstairs. So it's a very general suggestion, but it's also something to kind of set a general goal for. If you want something more individualized, there's charts and recommendations based on your age, your gender, your body type, your activity levels. So it's very, I don't know why this is such a weird thing, very variable. It's not going to be one size fits all. As Joe and I always say, it's always individualized.
Yeah, and from like the fat loss perspective, protein is really satiating. It will make you feel full for much longer than the other two macronutrients. So that's really helpful. But yeah, as Emily said, when you're losing fat, you want to also maintain as much lean muscle as you can, and maybe even build it as well. Whether you can do that in a kind of calorie deficit is up for debate, but I think you can. And if you are vegetarian or vegan, like Emily said, there are loads of food sources that you can get protein in. I think a cup of broccoli has something like 3 grams in. A cup of tofu has something like 8 grams of protein in. Yep. And you just want to make sure, I guess, vegetarians and vegans can get plenty of protein without having to supplement with silly powders or whatnot. You just have to plan for it a bit more. Primarily because there's different types of protein, whether it's essential amino acids or non-essential amino acids. And if they are essential amino acids, it means that your body can't make them. Whereas the non-essential amino acids, you can eat other stuff and your body can synthesize them for you. But the essential amino acids, your body has to take in by food. And they are very prevalent in animal protein products, but they are not so much in vegan and vegetarian. So you just have to plan for it a bit more carefully. And the best way that you can do that is just making sure you're getting a huge kind of diverse range of different protein sources. So not just eating tofu, but eating tofu and oats and broccoli and peas and beans and all the other things to make sure you get a mixture of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely just takes some planning and some researching and knowledge around it. So
yeah, we're going to go over on time, but I have more to say. If that's okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's our podcast. We can do what we want.
So a big focusing on protein, I always get my clients to have a certain number of grams per day, as Emily said, not just in one big meal, but throughout the day. A, to keep them satiated, but B, to hopefully keep lean muscle mass. And I also give them a vegetable and fruit goal. Fruits and vegetables, I don't know if we need to go into why they're good, but is it obvious?
I feel like it should be to most people.
Right. They're fiber, they're nutrients, they're minerals, they're antioxidants, they help with weight loss, they're phytonutrients. They are one of the least processed things that you can eat. They have so many different health benefits, but they will help you lose weight, primarily because they are full of water, full of fiber. They have huge food volume. They will fill you up for not a huge number of calories.
Yeah.
Vegetables don't include potato chips.
What?
Sorry.
What? Rats.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So that's that.
We're going on.
Yeah. In general, the more a food is processed, the less nutrient dense it will be. And so when you're looking at planning out your calories for the day, as best possible, looking at planning in nutrient dense foods. And so if you think about a fruit, a vegetable, a nut, a seed, it's not really processed at all. Maybe you might peel it and chop it. And that's about it. Whereas if you think about a Twinkie, and I saw those in the British shops the other day, they look horrendous.
They're awful. They're horrible.
But that's probably one of the most processed foods you could think of, right? And the amount of minerals and vitamins and antioxidants and fiber in a Twinkie versus a carrot are going to be vastly different. And so if you can stick to less processed foods, the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are awful. They're horrible.
Yeah, gross.
And
it takes time. Like, you have to take time for if you've been used to eating nothing but Twinkies and Coca-Cola, you're going to have to take time to get used to these foods. And maybe we could do an episode on food tolerance almost, and how to start eating more of these foods. But I don't think we have time to go into that now because I'm already past my limit. And then I guess the last thing I would say is your sleep. So if you aren't sleeping well, it's going to affect your weight, not because it's going to slow down your metabolism, but because it's going to affect your food choices. Because when we're tired, we crave more sugar and our body's trying to get energy from elsewhere. It does funny things to your hunger hormones. So we have hunger hormones called ghrelin and leptin and a few others. But if you don't get enough sleep, those hormones get slightly out of whack, and you will make poorer food choices, and you will probably fidget and move around less. Your NEAT will go down. So it's really important to get good sleep if you're trying to lose weight as well. And if you're not sleeping well and you can't control it, it might be that your calories are too low, because evolutionarily, it came out well. Evolutionarily, your body is literally screaming at you, you can't sleep now, you have to go and forage for food. So you're probably on too low calories. And that might be a time when you contact a health coach and say, I'm not doing something right. What can I do?
I know one.
Do you?
She's based in the UK.
She's very good, I hear.
Her Instagram is spelled with a U.
Okay. Have you got anything else to add?
I don't think so. This is definitely your major area of expertise, and I toss my things in where I can. Will toss them in.
Very well. So I guess in general, weight loss is fat loss. It's a calorie deficit. It should be healthy. It should be fun. You should enjoy it. You shouldn't be anxious about it. It should be a short-ish term thing to lose the fat, and then you then come out of. It shouldn't be a long-term thing. It should be something that you feel that you have control over, that you can fit into your life. And if it's not any of those things and you want help, if it's a problem, and it might be something that I can refer you for, it might be an eating disorder charity, or it might just be that you need someone with a bit of expertise pointing you in the right direction, because it should be fun and easy. It shouldn't be that you need a multi-billion-dollar company to tell you what to eat in certain little boxes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I think we're probably way over time and should wrap it up there.
All right.
Where can we find us?
So you can find us both together on Instagram at behaveyourselfpod. You can find myself at emily.a.macrae, MACRAE, and you can find Jo at the Behavior Lady. And because she's from the UK, behavior is spelled with a U. You can also send us an email if you have questions, comments, concerns, want us to cover topics at behaveyourselfpod@gmail.com. And we would love it if you would leave us a review, as always. So if you're still hearing this and we're still doing this, we're still waiting on the 10 reviews for entering into a 30-minute one-on-one session with either myself or with Jo or with both of us together.
Perfect. We have the Facebook group as well. And we decided today that we had been doing a dedicated in December group where we were posting weekly challenges. We're going to keep it open and keep all of those posts up, but also continue to post in there. And it's a really nice kind of support and accountability group. So head on over and join us there. And there's lots of other lovely people giving support there too.
Yeah.
As always, we are both behaviour analysts and qualified in our respective fields, but this podcast is just for education and information sharing only and shouldn't be taken as personal, medical, or behavioural advice or services.
Awesome.
At this point, I normally say, and next week we're going to cover, but we haven't decided what we're going to cover. So
we haven't yet.
It's a surprise.
All righty. We'll talk to you guys next time.
See you next time.
Bye.